Good evening, everyone. You welcome to the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. In our top stories, one of the most affected income-generating source of the state by the armed conflicts is the Cameroon Development Corporation. Efforts made to revamp the CDC seem to be barren. The board chair of the Cameroon Development Corporation, Hope Sona Ebai, during a conclave in Limbe, southwest region of the country, says the corporation can only survive given that the security situation in the two English-speaking regions of the country is improved upon by crucifying hostilities and bearing the armed conflicts. Also, end of the war waged against the sale of illicit fuel in Cameroon seemed to be far-fetched due to the resistance of many Cameroonians who rely on the illicit business or activity to put food on the table, pay their children's school fees and bills, as well as many others in Douala Littoral region, where the activity is said to be alarming elements of the National Brigade in charge of the control of petroleum products destroy kiosks where the illicit fuel is stocked and sold. An operation that extended to several localities led to the seizure of thousands of liters of the illicit fuel, a great loss to many who invested in this illicit business. Also, the head of state, Paul Biya, has called on heads of the 6 CEMAC member countries to put efforts in ensuring that the economy of the sub-region is improved upon, the economy that has been affected adversely by the COVID-19 pandemic. The head of state was speaking during an extraordinary summit of the CEMAC sub-region in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. Those were top stories. Good evening once again. You welcome to the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television, where we broadcasting live from the nation's economic capital, Douala. One of the most affected income-generating source of the state is the armed conflict, or is the Cameroon Development Corporation, that has been grossly or adversely affected by the armed conflict. And it should be noted, efforts made to revamp the CDC has yielded no fruit. The board chair of the Cameroon Development Corporation, Hope Sona Ebai, while speaking in Limbe, southwest region of the country, during a meeting, it says the corporation can only survive given that the security situation in the two English-speaking regions of the country is improved upon, that is, by crucifying hostilities and bearing the armed conflict as a whole. Davidson Maimo has more.
We have approved the accounts. We took note of the extremely difficult situations under which the CDC is functioning today because of the socio-political crisis. That's reflected in the performance indicators.
Cameroon Development Corporation, the CDC board chair, Hope Sona Ebai, speaking shortly after a delayed board meeting that took place at the corporation headquarters in Limbe, with the objective to examine and adopt the budget consumed for 2020. According to Hope Sona Ebai, the Anglophone crisis has seriously dealt with the corporation for the past 4 years, with the CDC most targeted by separatist fighters. The situation, he said, placed the CDC at a tight corner, with thousands of workers temporarily laid off after huge arrears.
The budget is realized within a certain socio-political context that makes it difficult for us to achieve a lot of the goals that we set. Feel that as the security situation improves, we would be able to expand and apply some of the activities that were programmed.
He assured the workers that if the means are made available, management shall definitely assist them financially in sending their children back to school.
And management is doing the best it can to make sure that we will be able to provide something financial for the workers to enable them to send their kids back to school.
Though the government of Cameroon has authorized the CDC to diversify its crops, the board chair plead for more support from government, especially in the domain of security.
The government will continue to maintain CDC on its portfolio because we think if the security situation improves, we can turn things around for the betterment of CDC and for the country at large.
It should be noted, the Cameroon Development Corporation, which is a pride of Anglophone, second employer after the state, and the backbone of Cameroon economy, undoubtedly is the most hit by Anglophone crises, with some workers killed, equipment vandalized, among other vices.
The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs in Cameroon, in a statement on Wednesday, expressed concerns over recurrent attacks on humanitarian aid workers in the northwest and southwest regions. OCHA, in a tweet to mark United Nations World Humanitarian Day, which is celebrated every year on August 19th, to pay tribute to those who put themselves in danger to carry out humanitarian service and to raise awareness of humanitarian crises around the world, says in the last 16 months, over 19 incidents of abductions involving humanitarians have been reported against humanitarian workers in the Anglophone regions. 4 humanitarian staff members killed since 2019. Also, that since January 2018, humanitarian workers are on the front line of the humanitarian crisis, facing enormous risk while providing assistance to those in need in the southwest and northwest regions. End of the war waged against the sale of illicit fuel in Cameroon seemed to be far-fetched due to the resistance of some Cameroonians who rely on this illicit activity to put food on the table, pay their children's school fees, bills, and many others in Douala-Litowa region, where the activity is said to be alarming. Elements of the National Brigade in charge of the control of petroleum products destroyed several kiosks where the illicit fuel is stocked and sold. An operation carried out in several localities led to the seizure of thousands of liters of the illicit fuel, a great loss to many who have invested in the illicit business. Simanjukan gave a report.
It was a surprise operation that was carried out by the National Brigade in charge of the control of petroleum products in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. From Bonaberi through Bekoko to Nkapa and Suza, the brigade picked up every liter of illicit petroleum products displayed along the road to be sold. The team, assisted by the elements of the National Gendarmerie, seized more than 2,000 liters and arrested some persons involved in the business. The operation is geared at discouraging those who sell illicit fuel along the roadsides in Yaoundé and its environs. We seized more than 3,000 liters of petroleum products, which will be tested, and if it is good, they will be auctioned. According to the leader of the operation, the ongoing exercise is contained in an order signed by the Minister of Water and Energy Resources. The goal is to send away persons involved in the sale of illicit petroleum products along the roadsides.
Contractors have given fresh hopes that the Sangmalema-Weso transitional roads will be ready by December. This follows new instructions given by the Minister of Public Works on the project site, which has been on for too long. Details in this report compiled by Fomi Armstrong-Sanda.
Few months before now, traveling on this 331-kilometer stretch linking Sangmalema to Bala in Congo required maximum patience and courage.
avant là pour arriver seulement à Jum ici vraiment il faut.
Initially, it took 4 days to reach Jum because of the bad state of the road. Today the distance is done within few hours.
Le matin avant 13h tu es arrivé ici vraiment.
Today, the journey is completed in less than 4 hours thanks to the completion of work on the 67.5 kilometer segment linking Mintom to Lili and the almost completed 53 kilometer segment linking Lili to Tambala. As at now, the rate of execution stands at 95% and the project is expected to be delivered by December 2021.
Les ingénieurs regarderont globalement ce que le travail qui a été fait.
Engineers will analyze the work done by technicians and give corrections. After the corrections, a team from the project owner will be sent to receive the project.
Pour la réception provisoire.
On the side, the project owner, Public Works Minister Emmanuel Ngano Jomesi, appreciated the work done and also dished out recommendations to fill lapses observed. You have to clean up signposts. They are dirty and others have been overshadowed by long vegetation. I ask for a different speed brakes, so you should remove the one that you have constructed now. On the Bikula Jum segment, affected families finally got indemnified and resettled, thereby solving the major problem that delayed work on the stretch. Following the payment of their indemnities on July the 30th, work has taken off at a fast pace. On this 38 kilometer stretch, execution stands at over 94%, while on the Sakmalima Mekok Bikola section, 65 kilometer long, execution rate stands at 86%. Contractors say they want to integrate night work to get it ready for December 2021. To go by these promises, hope is rekindled that the Sangmalema Weso Congo transnational road will be completed at long last.
That was for me, Armstrong Sander, reporting there on contractors who have given fresh hopes and promises that the Sakmelima Weso transnational roads will be ready by December. That follows instructions given by the Minister of Public Works as the projects to realize these roads are so far delayed. And now, a few weeks from now, pupils and students will be going back to school for the 2021-2022 academic year. In order to get fully prepared for back to school, some pupils and students on holidays in Penja, that's in the Mongo division of the Litowal region, are engaged in petit trays in order to assist their parents to have their bags full and ready for back to school. Details with Mala Glory.
Loaded with food items from roasted plums to fried fish. We wait for then we sell. They sometimes go with our money. This is the activity of children on holidays in Penja of the Mongo division. These children, mostly between the ages of 8 and 16, have decided to hawk on the National Road number 5, linking Douala to Bafusam, in order to keep them busy and to save some money. One of the girls who regularly assists her mother during holidays in the sale of what is known as pure water, which is water fetched from an unknown source, then later sealed to make it ready for consumers, tells us more. We carry water and store in a water basin so that the dirt can settle. Then we package the water in plastic sachet, after which we store them in a fridge for our customers. While some parents allow their children to hawk, others prefer to train their children in farming. Holidays for us is to commune with the family. as we take them to the farm not only to work but also for distraction. While they assist us on the farm, we use the opportunity to advise them and to train them on farm work. We also give importance of farm work and why we carry out this activity. Following instructions from their parents, the girls happily exercise their know-how on the farm, tilling the soil from one end to another while harvesting fruits. According to them, farming is an opportunity to gain skills which could help them in the future.
I pass my holidays by helping my parents to cultivate farm. They show us many things like how to plant pawpaw, cocoa, white pepper and other things.
The economic crisis in the country has forced some parents to send their children on the streets for hawking. This without any possible training skills for future opportunities.
The President of the Republic, Paul Biya, has demanded heads of the six CEMAC member countries to double efforts in order to save the economy of the sub-region adversely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. The head of state also asked this will enable the 6 member countries attain their objective of sustainable development by 2030, an objective seriously affected by the health crisis and plunging the sub-region into debt and poverty. In a statement, he says it is urgent to reactivate the economy through structural reforms. Also, that there is need to improve on the business climate to permit the private sector to be involved in the revamp of economic growth. President Paul Biya underlines the significance of immunization of the population to relaunch economic activities, regretting that at least 5% of the population has been vaccinated against the COVID-19 pandemic so far. Up next, Talking Points. Good evening once again. You're welcome to Talking Point. Today we having a politician and economic operator, Siaka Shune. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Aze. Good evening to all the televiewers of Equinoxe television. I'm delighted once more to be here to analyze fundamental facts that's going to boost the economy of our Central African sub-region, and why not Cameroon.
You are an economic operator. You certainly followed, were keen about the CEMAC, extraordinary summit of the CEMAC that held in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. There were equally some few issues that were touched. You had the head of state, Paul Biya, who said that the member countries must put efforts together in ensuring that the economy of the sub-region is improved upon the economy that has been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. How do we analyze this COVID-19 effects on the economic evolution of the sub-region?
Yes, the major goal of this summit was to assess the macroeconomic situation of CEMAC amid the COVID-19 pandemic. And I would continue by trusting and lauding the efforts of His Excellency Paul Biya, who is the current president of CEMAC, for the magnificent work that he has been doing amid this crisis. You know very well that COVID-19 pandemic has been disastrous to the world economy, and the Central African sub-region has not been an exception. And his prescription of resilience and stringent measures to sustain and build this economy to be able to survive this disastrous moment has been very instrumental in calling for this meeting yesterday. And I think that measures that were taken in this meeting yesterday will go a long way to build back and strengthen the economy of our sub-region.
He knows very well that the COVID-19 pandemic has dealt a heavy blow on the economic evolution of the country, and is regretting that just 5% of the population, perhaps of the sub-region, is vaccinated against the COVID-19 pandemic. Do you think if we have a 100% vaccination of the population, we can boost of the economy of the sub-region improving, or maybe for the people to go about economic activities normally? Would that still not have an effect?
Yes, automatically, ASE is going to have an effect on the economy of all sub-regional countries, because these vaccines are being given to the people for free, whereas the government is dipping into their coffers to be able to purchase these vaccines to save the lives of the population. And you bear with me that this is something that came as a pandemic and was not part of the budget. And you would understand that it has affected the economy drastically. And the heads of states of the sub-region, like other heads of states in the world, are coming together in their economic strategic regions to see how they can stabilize their economies and meet this unforeseen contingency and COVID-19.
And is it not regrettable as well that many continue to shy away from the vaccines, while the head of state is calling that an immunization campaigns be launched in order to have these populations vaccinated? Many of them are shying away from it. How do we then vaccinate more in order to attain this development objective by 2030?
You would bear with me that the social media has been very instrumental in promoting the idea of people shying away from being vaccinated. But we also accept the fact that the WHO and other health institutions are encouraging the people through their governments to be able to go and vaccinate and save themselves from this dangerous pandemic. But it is now left to the governments of the various countries to be able to devise strategies and stratagems to be able to push their people towards protecting and immunizing themselves. One of the major resolutions that was taken yesterday was in this sector, by trying to encourage and push the people to be able to vaccinate and immunize themselves. You see, like in Europe, government institutions, you don't move into government institutions, you can't fly, you can't move into public restaurants without having your vaccination card. I think the earlier these measures are also implemented in our sub-region to be able to protect the health of the people, the better.
And you think that can actually work regarding the fact that there are some interests or personal interest?
I'm not a public health specialist, but we know that with the advent of the social media, everybody around has become a public health specialist. People are writing all kinds of things on the social media, and it becomes normal that it scares away some people from going for the vaccine. And but I think that with all the recommendations and assurance that has been given, I would humbly advise Cameroonians, because I'm a Cameroonian, I would humbly advise Cameroonians to go in for their vaccine so that we can be immunized and protected from this deadly pandemic. We saw how people were killed in Europe. We saw how they died in the United States of America. We see how the new strain Delta variant is killing people in South Africa. And I think it is better. The fear of COVID is the beginning of wisdom. The earlier we do something about getting ourselves vaccinated, the better.
And why do we project more the COVID-19 pandemic than the various security challenges that some of the member countries are facing? We're talking about the situation in Cameroon, two English-speaking regions, the far north region, also the situation in Central African Republic. Central Africa is as well a member. The rebel attacks, constant attacks, and they always prevent maybe the trans-border activities and so on. Also the situation in Chad. Why do we sideline this? Why do we put it at the bottom? That is after COVID-19. Does it mean it hasn't got an impact on the economic growth?
No, if you follow the final communique that was that was signed yesterday after that summit, I think they earmarked about 5 major items. There was peace and security. There was stability of the economic situation of the CEMAC zone. There was the health situation that concerned the COVID-19 pandemic, and they talk also of regional integration and creating of work and jobs. So they didn't concentrate so much, but we know that COVID-19 is the talk of the day now. So most probably most people didn't go through that communique. Of which I have a copy of that communique. If you wish, I'll hand it to you. There are about 7 points that were enumerated, and resolutions were taken on them. So it's not like they only concentrated on COVID-19 now.
And it's not the first time. The various problems have been existing the previous year. Nothing changed. What will change this time around, and what will change in future? 2030 is not far.
The summit is about promoting regional integration in our sub-region. And I have enumerated to you the various issues that were highlighted and discussed there, and resolutions were taken on them to be made to make sure that they are implemented and it can work for the benefit of the inhabitants of this sub-region. And we are hoping that in subsequent summits, other points too will come up. But I'm one of those free thinkers who has been thinking that we, in Cameroon and in this sub-region, more people still die of malaria than COVID-19. But yet funds that are sent towards COVID-19 are alarming, and the rate at which people die of malaria in Africa are alarming. But yet the WHO or the OMS has never ever given the attention to malaria the way they are giving to COVID-19. And I want to think that I was also disappointed in the fact that I was expecting the issue of the franc CFA to come up.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what many Cameroonians are talking about. Many Cameroonians want to see an independent currency that will not be maybe influenced by a franc, something like that.
Yes, in the meeting we had the director of the IMF, we had the director of the World Bank, we had the director of BIA, and embarrassingly we had the director of the French Treasury. You know, the CFA is still pegged to the French franc. The French franc that exists now as numerically, because now it's the euro that they're using in Europe. I think that that was a point that I was expecting to come up from the clairvoyance of His Excellency Paul Biya as the actual president of CEMAC, but it didn't come up. But we hope that it is not late. As generations go by, we are going to come out of this economic, how do I put it? It's an outburst of primitive, savage and intellectual buffoonery to think that in the 21st century, a franc CFA in Africa is still pegged to the French franc. I am one of those advocates against that, and I think that the head of states of CEMAC should take that into consideration while preparing for their next summit.
Why do you think they keep turning around the issue of the CFA? They don't want to talk about it. Do you think they are ignorant? They don't know Cameroonians are talking about it? They want to switch from the CFA currency to another, an independent one that can well enhance the growth of our economy, or the economy of the CEMAC sub-region, and even attain the sustainable development by 2030.
Yes, this is one of the hindrances that is stopping us from having an accelerated development in our sustainable economy, because you know, we are still victims of neocolonialism. And considering that we have at least 14 African countries who are still dependent on France, they pretend to be politically independent, but you and I know that economically they are not independent.
Right.
Because you can't be politically independent and your money is still pegged to another currency in Europe.
Okay.
Because political independence can only come from economic independence, because the power of money decides who you become tomorrow. And if you can't decide on your money, then you can't decide on your political institutions.
Thank you so very much, Siaka Shune. I recall that you are a politician and economic operator. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so very much. If you permit, I want to extend my sincere regards to all the militants of the Mezam 4.
Just few seconds, please.
They are preparing for the reorganization. I think united we stand and divided we fall.
Thank you as well, viewers, for being part of this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Do have a splendid evening. Stay put in the company of programs on Equinoxe Television. Nice evening.